What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, your brain is slowly eating itself? Not metaphorically, literally. Tiny cells in your brain called microglia are consuming bits of your own neural tissue. And if you don't sleep tonight, that process goes into overdrive, like a cleaning crew that forgot to clock out and just starts tearing down the walls. Sleep feels optional, right? We've all pulled an all-nighter, chugged an energy drink, told ourselves we'd catch up on the weekend. But what if you couldn't sleep? Not tonight. Not ever again. What would actually happen to you? The answer is way darker and way weirder than you think. And it starts with something that happened to one very unlucky Italian man. Sleep is one of those things humans have literally done forever, and yet we still don't fully understand why we do it. Think about that for a second. We spend roughly 1/3 of our entire lives unconscious on a mattress, completely vulnerable, doing absolutely nothing productive. And scientists are still debating the exact reason. That's like spending 26 years of your life doing something and not being sure why. We know it matters. We know it really matters. But most of us treat it like a setting we can just turn down when life gets busy. So what would actually happen if you just turned it off completely? No sleep. Not tonight, not ever again. Let's find out. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to want to go to bed early tonight. Let's say tonight you decide no sleep. You're curious, you're tough, you've got coffee. The first 24 hours aren't that bad, honestly. You feel tired, your eyes burn a little, you're a bit foggy, but you're functional. You can still hold a conversation, drive a car, make decisions. By hour 36, things start getting weird. Your emotional regulation starts falling apart. Tiny things make you furious or randomly sad. A slow Wi-Fi connection feels like a personal attack. Scientists have actually measured this. After just 36 hours without sleep, the part of your brain that controls emotional reactions, the amygdala, becomes 60% more reactive than normal. 60%. Your brain is basically a car with no brakes, swerving all over the emotional road. By hour 48, 2 full days with no sleep, your body's doing something strange. It's starting to have microsleeps. These are tiny blackouts lasting anywhere from a fraction of a second to 30 seconds, where your brain just switches off. You don't even notice. You're technically awake, walking around, eyes open, and your brain is sneaking in little naps without your permission. It's like your brain is texting you, "I don't care what you decided, we're doing this." Okay, now we're getting into seriously unsettling territory. By the third day without sleep, people start seeing things that aren't there. This isn't a rare edge case. It happens to almost everyone at the 72-hour mark. In 1959, a radio DJ named Peter Tripp decided to stay awake for 200 hours as a publicity stunt. By day 3, he was convinced that his shoes were filled with spiders. He also thought that a doctor who came to check on him was actually an undertaker. He ran down the street in a panic. By day 11, a high schooler named Randy Gardner, who broke Tripp's record in 1964, couldn't identify simple objects by touch, couldn't concentrate, and had whole moments where he forgot who he was. Here's the wild part. Randy Gardner actually recovered. He slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes after his experiment, and by most accounts was physically fine afterward. But that raises the big question, doesn't it? What if he couldn't recover? What if sleep wasn't an option? This is the part where things go from interesting science experiment to genuinely terrifying. In the 1980s, an Italian man, let's call him Silvano, started having a strange symptom. He stopped being able to sleep. Not insomnia, not just difficulty, he physically could not fall asleep. He had a condition called fatal familial insomnia, one of the rarest and most horrifying diseases in medical history. It's caused by a misfolded protein in the brain, and it attacks the thalamus, the part of your brain that acts as a kind of sleep switch. Once that switch breaks, it doesn't come back. Here's what happened to Silvano over the following months. First, he stopped sleeping. Then came the hallucinations, the panic attacks, the inability to regulate his body temperature, then dementia, then a complete inability to walk, talk, or function. He died 8 months after his symptoms began. There are fewer than 100 families in the entire world known to carry this gene. But the existence of this disease tells us something crucial. Sleep isn't a luxury your body is willing to negotiate. It is non-negotiable. Your brain will accept no substitutes. If your brain is going, "Wait, I need to know more about this," good. That means your brain is working correctly. Hit subscribe so you never miss a video like this one. We make these every week, and some of the upcoming topics are going to seriously mess with your head. Okay, back to what happens when sleep disappears forever. Here's the thing. We always talk about what happens when you don't sleep, but the more mind-bending question is, what is sleep actually doing that's so important? Picture your brain like a very busy city. All day long while you're thinking, working, scrolling, talking, that city is generating trash, metabolic waste, byproducts of all that neuroactivity, little toxic proteins that pile up between your neurons, like trash bags on a New York City sidewalk. Now, here's what's insane. Your brain can only clean itself while you sleep. There's a system called the glymphatic system, discovered only in 2013, which is remarkably recent, that acts like a pressure washer for your brain. While you sleep, your brain cells actually shrink by about 60%, creating channels for cerebrospinal fluid to flush through and carry all that toxic waste away. One of the proteins it clears out? Beta amyloid, the same protein that builds up in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. So when you skip sleep, you're not just feeling tired, you're letting your brain marinate in its own waste. Every single night you don't sleep enough, a little more of that toxic buildup stays behind. Think of it this way. Imagine never washing your dishes, just stacking them up, telling yourself you'll get to it. That's what chronic sleep deprivation is doing to your neurons. Okay, let's zoom out and get genuinely weird with it. Not just you, what if nobody on Earth could sleep anymore? At first, it would seem incredible. Humanity would gain 8 hours a day. That's 2.9 billion extra hours of productivity on Earth every single day. Imagine what we'd build, the art we'd create, the problems we'd solve. But within weeks, the cracks would start showing. Accident rates would skyrocket. Sleep deprivation impairs driving performance as severely as being drunk. Studies have confirmed it over and over. Without sleep, the global error rate across every profession, surgeons, pilots, engineers, nuclear technicians, would go through the roof. Then the emotional collapse would begin. A sleep-deprived population is an angry, paranoid, irrational population. Decision-making falls apart. Empathy decreases. Studies show that even one bad night of sleep makes people significantly less willing to help others. Scale that globally for weeks, and you've basically described the beginning of a civilization collapse. And then, within months, people would start dying, because no matter what science figured out, no matter what drug was invented, the brain's need for sleep is written so deep into our biology that there is no workaround. Sleep didn't evolve because it was convenient. It evolved because every animal that tried to skip it died. Here's the thing that really gets me about all of this. Every single night, your brain does something extraordinary. It shuts your conscious experience down, clears out toxic waste, replays your memories, repairs your emotional circuits, resets your immune system, and prepares you for an entirely new day of being a functional human being. And we treat it like an inconvenience. We brag about sleeping 4 hours. We drink our third coffee at 9 p.m. We doom scroll until 2 a.m. and wonder why we feel like garbage by Wednesday. But here's the wild thing to sit with. You've done this every night of your life. Your brain has orchestrated this insane, complex biological maintenance routine tens of thousands of times, and you weren't even conscious for it. Sleep isn't the absence of life. It might be one of the most alive things your body ever does. So tonight, put the phone down, turn off the screen, let your brain do its thing. It's been waiting all day.